Hello, hello. Good evening, good day, good morning, wherever you are. Nice to see you digitally. First off, let me know if there's any technical issues because I'm getting a notification that there's an issue with the audio potentially, but hopefully not. So fingers crossed, you guys can hear me. You never know because sometimes weird YouTube just gives weird options. I also think I went live before I realized I went live, so apologies if you just I was just sitting here awkwardly before the countdown came on. But for the time being, I'm just waiting for chat to catch up or stream delay to catch up. So know if audio is good. Thanks, Ryan, letting me know audio is good. Mark, Mike, Tristan, guys, what's up? Hope everyone's doing well. Just kind of letting the stream kick off so people can join in before we dive deep into everything tonight. Um, as normal, no surprise. It's kind of pretty loose format tonight. There are some kind of topics I want to talk about and some channel update stuff and content stuff that I want to talk about. Um, for the time being, we're just gonna kind of ease into things. So, how's everyone doing tonight? What are you guys working on? What are you most excited for about fourth edition? Obviously, cover a lot of stuff later. Not necessary. Um, Later in the week. Sorry, Virgin and I will be talking more about fourth edition later in the week, meaning tomorrow night, because I'm super organized. But we're going to be talking more about some of the big changes. Not any breaking news things we already know about, but we're just kind of going to be going through them, giving our opinion on like some of the biggest changes and the effect we think it's going to have on the game. James, very quiet on your end. Everyone else says loud and clear, so maybe it's a volume thing. Who knows? Or I'll just move closer to the mic. Uh, My City of Gaming says, wish we didn't have to wait. Hard to play third edition now. I feel exactly the same, which is why if you saw on Twitter or you're a member on Discord, you would have seen that we're pausing on the battle reports for the next couple weeks or however indiscriminate amount of time until the next edition comes. Um, Whatever it is, just so we can kind of start focusing on that because, as you said, not a lot of interest in third edition right now. But like we would continue playing it, but even with like our battle reports, you can tell with the views and whatnot that it's slowing down, um, and all that. So no surprise, obviously, with all the information out there about fourth edition. That's what everybody's focused on right now. So there's like a lot of people are just not playing right now. So there's not kind of interest, is understandable. What's up, Kevin? Getting ready for Skaven. Have some model kits ready to be built. Nice. One more mini 3-round 3.0 tournament coming up. You know what? Like it's fun. Like don't get me wrong. If obviously like once we start diving into things, it's like typically in the past we get stuff. We're on the GW early release kind of program. So it's like as soon as we're getting our heads into fourth, it's like we don't want to be going back, and doing events in third or whatever. But if that wasn't the case for me, I 100% would still do events for fun and whatnot. I mean, I just but less than a month ago, we were down in Florida for uh, the Warpfire GT. That was a ton of fun. Yeah, Kevin and I feel yeah about um, being a little sick and tired of the season. I'm tired of Blizzard, as many others are. I haven't really run it much myself at events or whatnot. Obviously, done it in battle reports, part of the game, so we're to show it, but it's not a lot of fun. So I'm excited for hopefully a. Now, don't get me wrong. There was a lot of balance uh, things to be happy about, balance wise. Sorry, in third edition and kind of where things were, but maybe a few things were a little bit uh, strong or needing attention. Nice, Tristan. Yeah, I mean, hey, if you have the opportunity to play Warhammer, play Warhammer. Like, you're gonna third edition Warhammer is still a lot of fun. So if it's that or waiting, like I would still play Warhammer, and so don't fault anyone for continuing. But I guess diving into the kind of main topics tonight. Obviously, I kind of want to do a general channel update, kind of talking about what's going on behind the scenes, what the new edition means for us, what's happening, and all that. Just kind of like info dumping more than anything, um, just to kind of communicate what's going on, what the changes, changes, all that stuff, like what's kind of happening with us, what to expect over the next couple weeks, um, and that kind of thing. And then I will be at the end probably trying to do more kind of like Q&A stuff if there's any questions anyone has or thoughts. Obviously, we're going to be diving more into more things uh, or things more in depth at different stages throughout the next couple weeks. Um, we've got like a long list of streams that we want to do and things we want to talk about and things we're excited about in fourth that just like based on the stuff that's been previewed, we can kind of start preparing and planning for um, and different things. So I'm really excited about that. But anyways, um, what I would say is obviously there's a lot of work with the new edition. Whenever we do a new edition, whether it's a GHB, waiting on an FAQ or a battle scroll, like all those things have a big impact on the channel. Actually, probably one of the past couple of years, one of the most stressful times for me with the channel was actually this past January when we were all in the hell of battle scroll limbo. Now that's something we in the past like we didn't know. I had no idea when it was coming. That's not a thing that in the past was like an early release access thing. We never knew, just kind of found out at the same time as everyone, which meant, when we're waiting for a big potentially game changing update, it's challenging to find a balance between obviously needing to continue to create content, but also not wanting to make so much content that we have 4 battle reports coming out over the 2 weeks after the battle scroll came out that were filmed before the battle scroll because they're potentially just not relevant. Obviously, you guys would have seen it last year, last year with I think there were like 2 or 3 Fleshier Courts versus Sylvaneth games where it's like we had that game come out literally the next day twice. There were changes in the game or FAQs or something, and that battle report, well, still entertaining and fun and whatnot, um, in some sense was less relevant because it wasn't with the most recent rule set. So if someone's playing Flesh Hero Courts, they're gonna be like, see that battle report that came out on Monday and it's Tuesday, and they're like, oh, this is old rules. It's not how it's actually worked. Doesn't work anymore. So again, not the end of the world, but we want to, as much as possible, have like our battle reports be valuable for as long as possible. Now it's a really tough thing compared to like other kinds of content where battle reports, because of the constant updating of rules, do have like a shorter shelf life than say painting Stormcast video. Um, it's just different kinds of content, but if you are looking at it from a like present day tournament setting, our battle report is valid for like 6 months, maybe more, in from like 100% no changes happening. Um, it's like 4 to 6 months. Sometimes it's going to be longer than that. It's like you look at maybe an old Iron Jaws battle report. Iron Jaws really haven't changed too much in the past year, so maybe those battle reports are still entirely relevant, and the lists went down 30 points or something. So that's not the end of the world. Those kind of changes aren't the worst, but it's very challenging at like big change times of like, again, not wanting too much of a backlog. So normally we have like 4 battle reports in the pipeline of like, hey, this current week we're filming, for example, we're not actually, this current week, let's say we're filming 2 battle reports, we have 2 releasing, and then we're already editing the ones for next week. So that means kind of by the end of this week, we'll have, we have 4, battle reports in the pipeline ongoing at any one time that have like been recorded but haven't been released yet. Sometimes it's more than that, depending on schedules and whatnot. I often will like to get a little extra buffer. Um, but then again, we don't want 2-3 weeks of delayed or kind of out of date battles to release after a big change. And that's why, January was super stressful for with the channel because we had typically, we have that big buffer, but then I drop the buffer and we're basically like at the point where we're editing it, filming a battle report, starting to edit it the next day, releasing it later that week or early the next week or something. So it's like very short turnaround time, which is just a lot more stressful and harder to manage. Because we're more that like things fluctuate with people's schedules, obviously. Or coordinating with people, it's kind of our recording schedules all over the place. But that's trying to illustrate a big challenge and whatnot. So you can understand that was just a a battle scroll update where there's potentially rules changing, and the battle scrolls are pretty impactful these days. But with a whole new edition, like not only is it a ton of work, do we not want to be we don't want to be putting out AOS 3 battle reports in the new edition at all, let alone leading up to it with interest kind of waning. But also on top of kind of that element of the production pipeline of filming, editing, recording, releasing, we also have to. There is a lot of prep work that goes into a new edition. So whenever we get again, whether it's a GHB or a new edition or whatnot, not only is there diving into like rules changes and all that and trying to learn that, I think so much was previewed from Games Workshop, which obviously helps us a ton, across the board of kind of wrapping our heads around things, as early as possible. So that's another element. But not only is it like rules for playing the game are changing, but obviously armies and whatnot are changing. Whenever a new thing comes out, whether it's new edition or even recently Abraxia or the other Slaves to Darkness stuff, like not only is there like wrapping our heads around the rules, but there's a production backlog of like, hey, okay, we got to get this done and ready for release date or 2 weeks before release date so we can film something with it and then edit that and have enough time to do those steps so we can then preview it at within a reasonable timeline kind of during the pre-order window. So you see, even something like Abraxia, we actually got the model super early, so I started working on that super early, but we got the rules super late. So we didn't. I typically would have loved to release something for Abraxia on the Saturday and kind of include it at the end of like the previous week's content. But because it was so late, didn't have the time to film and record it. It had to come out, a couple days later. Isn't the end of the world, but obviously kept trying to capitalize on the excitement, releasing something, typically GW's release schedule that Saturday is the day. It's usually on Saturdays that we can kind of start revealing and talking about and showcasing new stuff. So there's a production pipeline. There's also things like graphics, and while we're our format and our template and our graphics and stuff are pretty stable, like even from the last edition we had to figure out, okay, how are we to display battle tactics and keep track of those. Obviously we have the little X's tracking how many battle tactics are completed throughout a game, different values and stuff that we keep track of. Pop-ups we still do the pop-ups for battle tactics, and we will plan to continue that in the new edition, but like getting all those graphics done and whatnot, there's ongoing things and adjustments, and even looking at something like Spearhead. Okay, well, they use some completely different systems where they don't track battle reports in the same way, or sorry, battle tactics in the same way. They don't track command points in the same way. So kind of updating and prepping graphics and looking at different things. There's behind the scenes, a lot kind of going on whenever we have this new stuff. So that's where right now, that's where our focus is. Like obviously, laying out all the things it takes for new launches and new releases, whether it's learning rules, wrapping your head around games, trying to get a couple games in before we often will like film right away because we're not afraid to show, hey, this is, or talk about like, hey, we're gonna make mistakes because this is the first time we're playing a new edition or new something. That's just the reality, and we're not, afraid to show that. Which some people sometimes I don't think love, but it's just kind of the reality of the game. Like, hey, I can't think of anyone who would play the first their first game of a new edition, picking up the book for the first time and get everything absolutely correct. We're no different. And on top of it, we're, again, doing all these other things in addition to just playing a game that, take up our time and concentration and efforts. Lord Billy, thank you so much, good sir. Appreciate the super chat and support, and excited to get your namesake out on the channel again soon, Lord Billy Goat. I'm as are we all, hopeful that we get some good support from Beast of Chaos over the next edition. Or yeah, so fingers crossed. But thank you so much for the support. It's super appreciated. But yeah, so those are all kind of the reasons or the things going on with a new edition that are where we want to focus. So it's like continuing to put out the same volume of battle reports is something we could do right now and continue to do it. But then there's a trade-off of like, okay, is it more valuable for us to put out AOS 3 battle reports for the next couple of weeks, which then are not going to be as valuable, or prep, get all this stuff done in advance so that we can start filming. We're filming early, and like putting out extra content during release week is kind of the plan, or the pre-order window, a couple weeks. Those are like, that's the trade-off where it's like we have some exciting plans, and we'll talk about it, some things a little bit later, but like especially we're it's super excited for Spearhead. We're super excited for 4th edition. Obviously 2K games, and that's in my opinion going to continue to always be the staple. I would be very surprised to see that ever change. I don't think it ever will. Obviously, Spearhead is meant kind of to be an onboarding system, and it's super hopeful and excited for that. And I know a lot of people are also. So we're cooking up some plans, and I think people are going to be very excited and have a lot of fun with it as well, hopefully. Mike, sorry about your bone splitters. Yeah, they're in a sad spot, but I know we talked before about plans to run them as all your pigs as Gord Rentas, which would be awesome, and I still want to see that. Vacations are a great thing, JF. I do love to take vacations. I don't love to take vacations. I know I need to take vacations sometimes, and I do. But there's always the challenge of the production pipeline. But yeah, as you guys have known, and I've appreciated the patience on, is the odd, a couple times a year, 2 or 3 months, there'll be like one less report I can catch up or get ahead or whatnot, and that's, again, super appreciate the understanding in that regard. But I obviously want to always continue to have the pipeline pumping out content, and there is some things that are also exciting news to share in a more public manner, that I will share in a moment after I say a big thank you also to G Well for his super chat. So what's your overall opinion on 3rd edition now that it is wrapping up? Overall fondness? Do you feel you can go into 4th edition with no regrets? Leading into 3rd edition, I was like, we don't need a new addition to the game. The game, I feel like we can just build on it and refine things rather than revamp things. And obviously there were a bunch of notable changes in 3rd edition. But after, in hindsight, and after a couple months of 3rd edition, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm totally on board with it. Like, that was 3rd edition was great, loved it. Was it perfect? No, but I think over the lifespan of AOS 3, I think we can all say it had an amazing trajectory in terms of the balance that we found, and there are obviously things that some people love more than other aspects of the game, aka drain strategies. I think that's what's exciting about fourth edition is kind of like all the learnings that Matt Rose and the rules team that had a big transition. Uh, all their learnings and experimentation is kind of coming to fruition with fourth edition, so that's where I'm really excited for it. I overall again, I think third edition was great. I think the battle packs in terms of like the GHBs were maybe too impactful at times. Of like, okay, these are affecting how everybody's writing lists, and you can't not take a monster, or everybody's taking monster hunter battalions, stuff like that, or you have to like most armies have to take a little wizard for spellcasting savant as a grand strategy, like things like that, or it's like 75% of armies build around having 1+ sources of Merciless Blizzard because it's just game uh game breaking, really good. So that like overall third edition was awesome. It was a ton of fun. Really enjoyed it. Definitely felt more balanced than second edition. And yeah, I'm will look I'll look back on third edition with fondness, as you say. I enjoyed it, had a lot of fun with it. Some great events, some you know, amazing people I met through tournaments, and obviously the channel and the community and everything. So very excited for that. Bounty Hunters, that's the battalion. Thanks, Jeff. So yeah, all positive things. Not all positive. Again, Blizzard can go away. I'm at work and can't hear you. Any chance for more sound? My volume is full. Nothing's really changed for me from previous battle reports. Hopefully, I haven't seen a lot of other comments like that, so hopefully you're able to throw some headphones in or turn up your volume, but I apologize. I don't want to go tweaking too much because it seems pretty stable for most people right now, but yeah. What else do we got? Content machine, yes, that is running. AOS 4th edition allows you to do a lot of counterplay, and I like that. Yeah, Kev, I'm super in agreement. And to finish off, last part of your question, GWell, going into 4th edition, again, I'm super excited. There's some bigger changes than maybe I would have thought there would have been, or the game needed, but I'm everything that's been previewed, I'm super pumped about, and yeah, that's that. I'm super pumped. I think there's a lot of positives. I think it's like anything, there's gonna be some growing pains at the start of like, people figuring things out, or some things maybe not being perfectly balanced because playtesting is like you can't playtest at the same volume that people are going to play the game once the new edition comes out publicly. Like it's gonna be thousands of games played in the first week across the world, and all the learnings that the community has over the next first couple months are potentially going to kind of have the potential to reveal some hiccups or little bumps that might get changed. Um, yeah, so that's again where things are at with the channel and the content and what to kind of expect over the next couple weeks. We're to have a bunch of streams. I'm planning to do at least 2 or 3 streams every week until the new edition comes and we're able to start releasing content. Then we got a channel update and general Q&A tonight. Later this week, aka tomorrow, I'm gonna be actually jumping on for a painting stream for channel members, just for a little hobby hangout, because one of the things we are doing is trying to prep as many spearheads as we can to play with. And stop painting is my Ironwell Great Cannon. It's been on the channel before, but it is hardly painted. So I'm gonna be working on that tomorrow, and well, actually maybe one of the more exciting things that I'll mention in a second. there is I am currently able to put effort into different aspects of the channel more than I have before. Um, and heading into third edition that'll be the case more and more. Typically, my life has been editing battle reports 40 hours a week, and filming and playing games on the side, or filming a game and catching up on editing in the evening, that kind of thing. So, um, what I was alluding to of a big bonus and exciting thing for me for the channel is, if you are a channel member, you may have seen Ryan, who is in the chat tonight, in Discord, or yeah, you might have seen anything, um, him talking or whatever, or me tagging him and stuff on Discord. But Ryan has been helping to edit battle reports for the past several months. What is it, like? Got to be like half a year now at this point. And currently, Ryan had a full time job and was doing editing for the channel on the side and helping me out, which was a ton of help and very awesome. But we're kind of kicking things up, and over the next couple months, he's going to be helping out with the channel full time, which is super exciting. And we're hoping, our goal with that is to really kick things into gear with the start of the edition, be able to hit the ground running, put out maybe a little more content than we do, not only during the pre-order window. We want to put out some extra content, um, but also, um, beyond that, be able to maybe put out some a higher volume of content, to some small degree at least, to hopefully generate more interest, bring more people in the membership, and so we can continue to have Ryan on the team full time, which would be a godsend for me. And he's already been doing a ton of work, and he's very done an awesome job with battle reports. And yeah, super happy to have Ryan on the team and work with him, and hope we can keep this rolling with a new edition. Obviously, kind of the channel from a membership perspective, needs to have a little bit of growth over the start of fourth edition and in the next 3 months after launch. And that's kind of what we're working towards, is to, again, kind of build momentum with the new edition and continue to build momentum with the new edition. And there'll be a lot of hype, I think. So hopefully that translates into us being able to, put out more content and have, again, more members, interested in content, and interested in, or more people interested in the membership, which is the kind of driving force behind the channel and making everything possible. As well as, got to give a big shout out to our channel partners, Jordan over at Warfire Minis, Aaron of Dice, and X Planet as well. They're all very helpful in us make this stuff possible. So that's where Brian, coming on, working editing wise full time over the next couple months, is gonna help us release some new and exciting things. Obviously, with Spearhead coming out, we want to be playing a lot of Spearhead games. We think there will be a fair amount of interest in it, so hopefully we see that translate. But yeah, that Brian as well. That's where I, having his help on the team, allows me to do even more of the hobby work that's needed, whether it's like stuff like Cities of Sigmar, getting Abraxia painted. Like, you looked at a year ago when we had new release stuff, and it gets on the channel, it's like barely 3 color minimum, like in terms of the work it's had in preparation. But compare that to like Abraxia or something. Well, her base wasn't completely done. Like the paint level that Abraxia was compared to other stuff, I think Abraxia was done, her model, other than the base. I think other than the mount's eyes, maybe a couple other details I wanted to add, but like, oh, there were for sure. But Worlds, I was able to put way more effort into something like that in terms of and getting ready for the channel, than I had been in the past. And that's something, hobby wise, that's maybe an area of the channel that hasn't been to the level I've always wanted it to be. And partly that is just like wanting to have variety on the channel in terms of armies and units, and not having the time to put the effort and have the time spent painting to get everything to the level that I want it to be at. Um, so that's that. So yeah, new release stuff coming up and all the time on the go, and we're excited for that. But in terms of, I guess, just talking about content for the next couple weeks, again, working on stuff for different spearheads. I'll be working on the Cities of Sigmar Great Cannon. This is the last unit I need to finish off that spearhead. But I also want to do things like repaint the bases on the Cities of Sigmar army. Obviously, that's one that, like, for better or worse, I love my dark gritty schemes and the super moody vibes. But I 100% saw the same thing in that one battle report of, like, I didn't notice it. You don't notice those things while filming because it's like when you can see things in 3 dimensions, everything stands out more, and you know where you put the units. So it's, I had no difficulty in tracking where things were. But then as soon as I brought it into editing, I'm like, oh, people are gonna. Uh, I expect to see some comments, or I expected it as soon as I got to editing of, like, hey, yeah, I could see these things are, the army is dark, the board was dark, didn't set ourselves up for success there. So I'm gonna be repainting the bases on the Cities of Sigmar stuff to get it to stand out a little bit more one way or another. That's also why, if you had have noticed in our last battle reports last week, we had the colored lights not only during the hero shots but actually during the in the top down camera, all the camera angles. We had them running continuously um, to help part of the reason, not only visual interest, but like help shine lights on models from different angles to help them stand out a little bit more on the table. Um, just always trying to improve and do different things. So that's, you saw that and liked it or didn't like it, I would always love feedback about that kind of thing. Tattoo Tabletop, hopefully here's a start for keeping him full-time editing for the Best AOS channel. Super appreciate the super chat and the support there. Yeah, um, that's the biggest goal for me for 2024 with the channel is to be able to sustainably bring Ryan on permanently in a full-time capacity so that we can continue to ramp things up. Obviously, you guys, like, the painting of models is one small example of an area in which we can improve the channel. That's not like directly like so with getting more hands, obviously, and effort and time put into the channel from different people frees us up to be able to put more effort into different areas to improve content in one way or another and do different things. Yeah, I feel like I just constantly going off on tangents, which is just my life and my attention span, so I apologize. But um, one thing I did want to talk about is, again, the streams, as we said, talked about this week. There are different things I want to touch on. Actually, Ryan's gonna hear this for the first time tonight. But I actually next week, or maybe in the next couple weeks, I wanted to actually talk to Ryan about streaming together, or having him on a stream, for us to talk more in depth about the editing process and the learning curves and the troubleshooting that we have to do and XYZ. I thought that would be potentially a topic that people might be interested in learning about, and again seeing a different angle of the channel from behind the scenes. Um, so let me know what you think of that idea if that's something you'd be interested in. Brian comes at the into the hobby, like has been in the hobby for um, a long time, and but comes at it from a hobby side more than a gaming side, and is on a journey to kind of get into the gaming side more and more. So I think he's got a super interesting perspective, and we want to get him down here to film some games and whatnot over the next couple weeks, or weeks or months, or in fourth edition, just to, like, again, provide a different perspective. And I think that's very valuable. And yeah, I think, again, there's a lot of work that goes into editing, and I feel like I can, like, brush over that a lot of that stuff because I've been doing it battle reports for like what 6 years now almost, where different things stand out to someone, or different people who have different backgrounds, or obviously I've been doing, like I said, been doing it a long time, where Ryan has fresher perspective perhaps and sees things a little differently, and I think it's formative to talk about all those things. Quick question from the chat. Andy Melfi, my brother stopped playing. I remember seeing him in the early videos. Yeah, sadly, my brother, you know, owns a triplex that he lives in, and has like renovated like all 3 or 4 of the different units over the past couple of years. So that's been a big thing. But um, he also got married and had a child, so those played or demanded his attention. But to be fair, he was someone who has always had a ton of hobbies and interests. He's does a lot of mountain biking, plays a lot of hockey for different teams, um, and I think like compared to some of the rest of us on the channel, in terms of the regulars, played a lot more than him. So I think that wasn't always the most fun experience, because he generally played with us more than anyone. Like he didn't really, like he would do events and stuff with us, but generally like outside of events, if he was playing games of AOS, it was like playing against me or someone else on the channel, and we played way more. So it wasn't always the most fun to go up against someone way more, or a lot more experienced, especially I think when third edition came out. Um, all that stuff was going on in his life. He was super busy, so something had to give with getting married and having a kid, and for him it was AOS. But uh, we've slowly been borrowing more and more of his armies and models and whatnot. So we'd love to have him back out and get him back into the game. But again, obviously, everyone's at different stages with different things, and he has other hobbies as well that he prioritized. It's totally fine. But I miss playing with him for sure. What else do we have in terms of content coming up? So want to do over in the next couple weeks, again, kind of a in-depth editor chat between myself and Ryan. And then if you're a channel member, you may have seen a question I posted in the or on YouTube in the community page for members, and that was talking about Path to Glory. Now, Games Workshop, posted a couple weeks ago, kind of just generic, like, hey, we've revamped Path to Glory, made it simpler, kind of post on the Warhammer community page or website. And Path to Glory is something I dabbled in at the start of the last edition, but like I didn't care about the territories. You just want to play games, level up your dudes, and have fun, and that's the most exciting thing of it. So like, I'm very excited to see what they've done with it, and you know, where things are going. So there was a lot of it, and I asked our channel member community how much interest there was about it, and there was like, I'd say it was split into like 40% of the people were like, yeah, I'd love to see some Path to Glory kind of more narrative focused content. Another 40% were like, I'd love to see Path to Glory or narrative focused content, but only if it doesn't take away from our competitive stuff that we normally like, our kind of normal content. And then maybe 20% were less interested in Path to Glory, which is fine. And actually, again, so overall, more, I'd say 80% of the people generally are interested in seeing that kind of content. So, well, obviously we can't really get into things until the edition launches and whatnot. I thought it would be fun, working with or talking with our channel members and those interested. And this might be a members only stream in the next couple weeks, but of like doing like a prepping for Path to Glory stream. And obviously we can't do anything until everything's out and we have the rules and all that and whatnot. But just like kind of choosing an army and like from a thematic lore perspective, working together in a stream to like build a narrative background for our army. It'd be awesome to like, again, have an army chosen beforehand so that I can like be planning for that, because I do want to try doing some like Path to Glory content again with the help of Ryan editing. In a full-time capacity will allow us to do kind of some extra content like this. Some other the format I'm not sure about. It's kind of bouncing between the idea of doing narrative stuff in the same manner that we filmed. If you'll remember the like Cities of Sigmar box set, we did like a narrative game with that, which was like 600 points, whatever what came in the Cities of Sigmar box, and then we did that against Soulblight and kind of more of a narrative style to that game. So might do something like that, or I thought about also the potential of like live streaming, kind of more the narrative content for channel members, but live streaming is always a pain. Um, at least with you know the current setup we have. So different ideas. So something I had to bounce around. We can talk about more when we do that kind of prepping for Path to Glory live stream again. If there's any more narrative lore junkies and people in the chat or in the community, definitely would love to have you in that stream, or throwing out ideas in advance or after and whatnot. But I'd like to for sure like kind of choose an army that we'll focus on at the start and go from there. What else? As I talked about, like we're doing tomorrow, we're going to do a couple painting live streams throughout the next couple weeks, and then one of the things, and all I did a brief, you know, explanation of the concept. But later in the week, Ridge and I are going to be doing a stream at some point talking about Spearhead and some of our plans for Spearhead with the launch of the new edition, which involves a tournament bracket uh, elimination event thing. Words are challenging, but I guess that's the spiel. We're going to be doing. Heard it here first. We're going to be doing a 16 army Spearhead elimination tournament bracket. P16. Yeah. So we're excited. Hope you guys, obviously that's like very minimal info, but we're hoping that we'll be able to pump out a bunch of that kind of stuff in addition to, some other generic Spearhead stuff at the start of the edition or soon after or whatnot. So something to look forward to. Um, part of the reason why we want to put time into other things than just third edition battle reports, while we have the time to right now, getting all as much as we can prepped and ready and stuff in advance, and eventually editing and all those things will be, I think, an exciting time for all. And we, in addition to the tournament itself, we have some fun plans for some uh, competitions to get channel members involved and whatnot in different ways, and whether doing some like March Madness style tournament bracket predictions, and we'll have some planning some uh, prizes and stuff for that. So fun things to look forward to. Um, we're gonna Rich and I will be talking about that in the next couple weeks at some point on stream. Obviously, just trying to like prepping and planning for it and what to expect. But that's maybe one of the things we're most excited for right now. And Path to Glory, now it's something that we've gotten a lot of requests for in the past. For battle reports, is to like, oh, let's find a way to tie them in so there's a little more just not continuity, because we play so many different armies, but just tying the reports into one another so it's not just like all independent games. But it's always been challenging with AOS because the scale of the game is so much bigger. We have more people, playing games and coming for games. It's more challenging because games are longer, whereas Spearhead, we could potentially, film 2 games in an evening. So it's a little easier to structure that kind of thing. But this could be a good test run for us too. Then, bring it to AOS, like full scale AOS games of doing a similar thing down the road. But you know, keep your ears tuned for more information about that. But that's pretty much a lot of an overview of a lot of the content that we have kind of planned and things we'll be talking about the next couple weeks. So, and always want to be open and upfront with kind of what's going on and what to expect, and especially with us kind of taking a break from the current edition content, we want to kind of let you know why, especially our channel members that are continuing to support us through the membership. Um, know that while we are holding back a little bit on the AOS 3 content right now, it just means we're to have even more AOS 4 content for you at the beginning of the edition, which I think you'll be happy about in the long run. So appreciate everyone's patience and understanding. And stick around, check out the membership, and get hyped for all the new content. Randy, I know you're hyped. Thanks for joining the membership as a veteran. You're gonna go. You said you're gonna go watch some of the membership battle reports. Super amped. Glad things are going well. Excited to see more in the future. Well, again, couldn't do it without people like you and everyone supporting us through the channel membership. It literally is the only reason why we're able to do this. So thank you guys. RTP, Mark, Mark, you gotta come back for a game soon. Once we start playing games again. Would it be cool to bring back tourney coverage from events in the new edition? Yeah, I would love to in a different format than what we've done before. And what that is, maybe something that has to we have to explore with a little bit more. But the audience for full length, tournament games is a lot smaller than your standard battle reports, because the hardcore tournament players love that kind of content. Not even hardcore, the regular tournament players love that kind of content, but the average you know person in the Warhammer community is not a regular tournament goer. So that content doesn't necessarily hit as well in the larger community. So that's something, finding a happy medium of being able to cover events while with tournament coverage is maybe where I think there's an opportunity, and maybe it's styling it more in the way that we do our current battle reports of filming a tournament and then breaking it down and kind of editing it down more to a proper battle report and having it come out just kind of as a normal release. Maybe that's an opportunity, or maybe that's where it's best. But the the full form games just don't quite hit in the way I hoped they would, and the way I would want them to, or they need to kind of be a long-term thing that we're able to put time and effort into. Because obviously, as a small channel, things are tight, and as especially as a purely AOS focused channel for the most part, um, barring Zach's opinion that we should do more 40k on the channel too. I would love to in theory. Um, yeah, so different challenges, but hopefully we'll continue to grow, and especially hoping for a good boost and hype generation with AOS 4. Mike hopes Path to Glory is good in fourth as well. Yeah, 100%. I would love to. I want us to. I wish I had a good local venue that I could run events in regularly. I would love to run like Path to Glory events, and even like do some kind of content around it, or film games from it. Like, I would love to do more of that style of things, or introductory tournaments and hosting different events, or even like hosting. I've seen over in different places in the UK, they've like done like midweek events for people who don't have evenings available, or sorry, weekends available as much, like different things like that. Or again, 1,000-point tournaments. I love to do different stuff, but Path to Glory is something I'm very hopeful for. The stuff they previewed and talked about and said makes me excited, and we think it's going in the right direction. So fingers crossed that that's the case. Mr. Zilardi says he's taking a break from third ed and also painting spearheads. Wouldn't mind seeing some streams talking about favorite faction focuses. Yeah, that's something also, with the new edition that we can possibly look at, is like talking about the Path of Glory stuff. There are different avenues for us to produce other kinds of content, and that's something that in the past, again, where we were so time limited, um, when I've been either the only person or the only full time person primarily editing. That's you know, it's like okay, I can't really afford to take time to film faction videos or whatnot when I have to be pumping out 40 hours worth of editing or 30 hours worth of editing for battle reports every week. Like there just isn't the time, and at the end of the day, people subscribe as members for extra battle reports. So that's kind of always what's taking priority, but hopefully and continue to trend in the right direction of being able to do more and more of that kind of stuff. What else? Any chance we do a studio tour or how to film your battle reports? That's a great idea. I didn't write that down. I've been wanting to do one in uh like my office for a while. I did one like the first year of the channel, I feel like, and I haven't done one since. But I would love to like when when it's clean, which is not right now. Do like I've never shown off besides in streams like my hobby room, which is pretty intense. Um, it's a lot of effort into it, and I'm fortunate to be able to have a whole room I can dedicate to it, or we could dedicate to it. But it would be good to do that kind of a stream again, or not stream, but video of like stuff. So maybe that's something I can do in the near future. What else do we got? Well, if I think we've covered everything I wanted to cover in terms of the hard information that I wanted to mention and bring up. So if you do have any general questions, continue to throw them in the chat. I'm happy to keep the discussion going. Justin would have loved to see Fabian kick Ridge's butt live. Yeah, I sure. Obviously, we had a great game between them on the channel. It would have been awesome to like cover their finals from Grand Clash. But it's like even that's one of the challenges. Like in the past, there was a year where we filmed the games at Grand Clash and then just released them later, not live or anything, but did that, and it still takes a lot of effort and it's stress for me in terms of like I'm thinking about that in addition to trying to play in the event, and that's not necessarily where I want to put my effort, or not that I didn't want to put my effort into there. It's hard to do both, and it's a big distraction to be like trying to run around and set up the cameras and whatnot and presto and whatnot, and it might set up and make sure things are charged in addition to like trying to think about who my next opponent is or whatnot and that kind of stuff. Yeah, so if I had someone else to run those things and try to coordinate that stuff at an event, that would make it easier. But even like something like Grand Clash, audio is a huge issue there because it's a massive room and like to my understanding, there isn't like another separate room that you know we could film a game, film games in each round. So that makes it very very challenging to like good audio as well. So different challenges, but I think something I do want to focus on kind of working towards is it's finding a way to get better tournament coverage, because even if it's like obviously the live is very exciting, live games are very exciting from like being like, oh, this tournament's going on right now, let's see who's in the finals and watch it. But even from like there's something like, even if you know the outcome of the game, there's a ton of value in being like, oh, I heard at this tournament this guy won it with this army, which is awesome. So even if you know they won, it still would be really cool to see an example like Fabian and Ridge's game. See, really cool to see how that played out in hindsight, and like what learnings you can pull out for the game or takeaways and all that kind of thing. There's a ton of value with all that, is even if it's not live. Alfarius, do we offer coaching services? No. Not. It's something that's like crossed my mind or been brought up in the past, and it's a tough thing compared to like with the channel, because content in different forms is more scalable in terms of like, okay, well, we can, for battle reports, for example, while our channel membership has grown over the past couple of years, our volume of content has generally, like, in terms of like what the base bare minimum is of 2 battle reports a week, has generally stayed the same. So it's like it scales better. Whereas, when you get into uh, film, kind of one-on-one coaching or that kind of thing, it's like just tougher to, yeah, make time for, and do it at scale and be able to, like, there's also a lot of work and prep and stuff behind the scenes. So is there the value that we could get out of it to justify taking the time away from editing, which aka means being able to pay someone else to do editing? So all those kind of things is like, is a, consideration. Now, is there opportunities to do maybe what's more likely is, doing extra content for members or something, or certain tiers of members, which we've done different things like that in the past, and trying to find maybe a better system for that. That's definitely there's definitely opportunities there. And if the channel grows enough over the next couple months or years, and with fourth edition, we're hopeful that we might have more flexibility to be able to just do that stuff for fun. Not for fun, well, I mean for fun, but also like just for general public release. And while that might kind of content might not convert people to sign up for the membership, it directly it'll bring more people to the channel potentially, which has a value as well. So love to be able to do more in different types of educational content, I guess, is the main thing I'm trying to get across, the main point. But again, like with tournament coverage, one of those things that's on the radar, maybe not quite something that's directly being worked on at the moment. What are some units you're hoping to get more use out of in the next edition? First one that comes to mind is Abraxia, because she is disappointing. I love her. She's a great model. Definitely recommend her. In terms of, if you want a cool hobby project to work on, she's one of the best models, and I had a ton of fun um, working on that. So I hope in the new edition, I hope it was like hey, this is coming out real close to the end of this edition. Let's just make sure she's not broken and mess things up that we have to like go back and address because it's an emergency. So hopefully they just erred on the side of caution with her, being making a very conservative force roll. Because, I mean, for her points, she's not bad, but she's not really good. She doesn't really do much. Like, compare her, she's 20 points less than just taking 3 Varandard. And I think her one synergy with Varandard is the command ability thing. And you need like 3 units of Varandard to make that worthwhile. So unless you're Josh and taking 18 to 21 Varandard, it's not gonna really provide enough value. Um, so that's kind of disappointing. And most of the time, like in a balanced slaves list, nobody's ever going to take Abraxia right now. I think if she had the Varandar keyword, so she'd benefit from the extra CP thing herself, taking herself as one of those 3 units, and was maybe like not marked undivided, which that one not as critical, but like had a 3-up armor save. 3-up armor save, had the Varandar keyword. I think people would be way happier. Not way happier, but like I think, in my opinion, those are kind of things that hurt her right now, that make it a little disappointing. Where taking her and 3 units of Arendard is over 1,000 points, and is it even worth it for what you get out of her command, ability? Probably super. If you're not already taking those models, but yeah, beautiful model, as you say, Yui. Mark, thank you so much for the gifted subs, and I hope all the members enjoy the content as well. Go back and watch all the AOS 3 stuff that we've put out over the past couple months, and especially last week's Abraxia match, where she had a better showing than she did in the earlier match last week, which isn't saying a lot, but it is for sure better. She got to do something a little bit, at least. So yeah, that's that. Have we, Ross asked, have we considered doing the odd video about how certain armies play? Maybe a chat with some other top players. The amount of editing would hopefully be a lot less than with battle reports. Yeah, 100%. Again, in the past, it's been like, okay, putting time into this is taking away from editing or painting models, which are like the two most critical things of like, obviously, we have to be editing videos and we always want to be painting new release stuff. So that like is a high priority. So hopefully we're able to do more and more of that stuff. I would love, it's something been on my mind. And I enjoy short form as much as this is a long form video because it's like this is meant to be an ongoing discussion, not like a bite-sized absorbable piece of content that people are going to like watch to get a ton of value out. If you're invested and interested in the channel, you're watching tonight and I super appreciate it. But like if you don't already follow and really enjoy the content, are you going to click on this video when you see the thumbnail and the title? No, you're not. Like if you're just scrolling by, but something that's more bite-sized content, like you talked about, like we talked about earlier, that's like more educational content of like, you know, here's how to build the best list in Cities of Sigmar, and we have someone that like Jake, who's an expert in Cities of Sigmar, come on, 100%. There's a ton of value in that, and I'd love to do that kind of content in like short form more than like kind of long form because that's maybe just how I prefer my content. For the most part, I guess I listen to all kinds and different balance, but definitely again kind of in line with talking about different kinds of content earlier. Something I would like to do more and more. Rum Nidri Fire Slayers, they released an article and I'm stoked for their 4th edition release. I'm excited. I have a hard time. I've like watched all of uh Rob's, so Honest Wargamer. I'm sure you know who that is, but if you don't, go watch check out the Honest Wargamer on YouTube. He's had amazing, awesome, informative videos about talking about all the like preview articles that Games Workshop has put out for the different armies that they've previewed so far for 4th edition. And I don't read the Warhammer community articles, but I've watched all of Rob's videos because I can do those while I'm doing other things that I can't read and paint. Um, so super enjoy getting all that information, and Rob's done a great job of it. So go watch his videos. And that's another thing too. It's like talking about the educational content. I don't necessarily like. I see Rob's videos, and I've seen like 2 or 3 other channels like putting out similar content. And when there's someone like Rob or Warhammer Weekly doing a live weekly show, it's like I don't want to just be an extra voice doing the same thing that somebody else is already doing super well. It doesn't excite me or interest me to try to do that, but finding a way to bring create content that's different or has a different take or provides value to different people or is a different format or whatnot, that's obviously kind of more my jam. And as you've seen, I'm always focused on improving our content and making our battle reports the best that they can be, and never kind of settling for the way things are or whatnot. So always think they could be better. Um, so long-winded rants. I'm gonna circle back to chat, go through chat and see if there's any questions that I missed, um, and whatnot. No more questions while I do this and get to the end. We'll pull it. But if you do have any questions, throw them in now, and I'll catch up with them. Or comments, questions, things to discuss. Obviously, so I'm going back to the start, see if there's things I missed. Talking about what people are working on right now. Tabletop, or so Tattoo Tabletop asked earlier, out of the faction focuses, which one has me the most excited so far? I don't know. The Deepkin one was pretty cool. Like, we now have the Soul Strider's old teleport is now kind of like an allegiance ability, which is interesting. And you can like deep strike a whole um whatever it's called, not battalion, but battalion, um, whatever units are inside of it, which is that's cool. I like that. That's, I'm interested to see now what impact that has on like, oh, okay, so that's what the Soul Strider did before. So Soul Strider is going to do something different now. That's exciting in that. So it's hard. I don't really get too excited about like the preview stuff, as I kind of alluded to earlier. Um, because that's not how I process information by reading or even listening to it. I like need to like play with something and like dive into it. Um, so it doesn't like kind of goes in one ear out the other in some capacity for me. Just how I learn or absorb information or the challenges of how I do that. But um, yeah, there's definitely been a lot of cool ones. So excited for all of them in different ways. Like especially with the channel where we play so many different armies. It's like, oh, cool. Let's see. I guess my excitement is more about like, not about like, oh, I'm so excited, like this is going to be so powerful. Whatever. That's not where I'm at because, again, play so many different armies that I don't care as much about what army isn't powerful or if a certain army I play is going to be stronger or whatnot. So that's not the end of the world for me. But I'm more excited about like seeing like, okay, like with the Soul Strider, like, oh, we've got a little bit of information. Let's see what I'm excited to find out what this means for everything else. That's what the stuff I did excited about, or like, you know, obviously all the command abilities in AOS 4. It's like those all seem really cool, impactful. I'm really excited to see what impact it has on the game. Like the ability to countercharge alone completely changes the game, and just like the way it's going to be played, how people are going to build lists. Not only are list building rules changing, but like things are just going to change so much because of some of the like fundamental changes. Objective sizes changing. Those things are going to be so impactful. Priority mechanic. That's I'm writing that down because that's a stream I want to talk about. Um, that's going to be a big one. I feel like it, monumental. Like I think it's going to be. It's we just everybody is going to just have to look at the priority mechanic differently. Like before, it was like, okay, you either set up to give it away or you hope to get it to build on momentum and make a big swing and you know or take a big advantage. That's what it was before. But that with the fundamental changes that they've made to it, that's just not going to be the case anymore. And those are the thing again. So those are the things I'm excited to figure out and find um, in the future. Was I planning on coming back to the Texas Masters? I went down. What was it? Um, this event? Oh, off my head. I had a ton of fun down there. Would love to go back to Texas. It's just far and expensive to travel to. Um, I don't know if the Masters has you have to like qualify for the Masters or anything. But no plans currently, and obviously as with other people, and it's the reality for everyone. Traveling's expensive and also challenging when you have children, family. Um, any predictions for Slates of Darkness for a new season? Uh, no predictions, but maybe like that's low key probably the army I love the most right now and have for like the last 6, 12 months, maybe longer. That's not an elf army. The caveat. One of my favorite armies, and especially with stuff like Abraxia, I was so hyped for her model, so I really want to see her do good. No real predictions, but I'm really hope Slave's in a good spot. They've been like decent all throughout the edition, um, which is all you can ask for, and they have really cool models and really cool stuff. So just hope they continue to be fun and flavorful. Soothsayer, y'all do great work keeping competitive content coming constantly and with varied armies and play standard. Oh, there's no question here. Just being very nice, and I appreciate it. It's nice to hear. Thank you. Yeah, thanks. That means a lot. Uh, Tristan asks what we're to be working on now. Um, I gave a lot of the general stuff of what needs to be worked on, with new additions or beta edition game changes, and that, and outside of the obvious, things I've mentioned directly, like prepping Spearhead armies to be ready for games and whatnot. Can't go into details about some other things. So excited, fun things are happening. Um, put out some low stress shooting the breeze content, more tap crossovers. Yeah, I know Ridge has been on there a bunch, with Dayton, and yeah, we gotta get them back down here. I bought Dayton all the time about coming to visit, but I'm actually planning hopefully to go out there later in the year. It is currently the plan. I'm planning to go hopefully with Cass and the little one as well. Super exciting. Um, guys, for the kind words. Who does the voiceovers? How long does it take? And what's the process script wise? Arthur, good question. So, historically, the scripts have generally, been done by my wife Cassidy, and she's good at talking and singing and vocal things. So we have abused her talents and abilities for a long time, and plan to continue doing that. In terms of script wise, generally now that's changed a lot over as our format has changed over the last several months or several months ago. And part of the big change is like we do a lot more player direct driven editing now, where it's more about like more focused on like the player interactions, the players talking through things, complemented and supplemented with VO. So the way we use VO now is like, okay, well, during the hero shots at the end of the turn, we're going to do a little bit of an information dump of like, if you're not watching, then here's what kind of like, oh, sorry, not watching, but like you're listening to the game while you're painting or something. We're trying to be like, oh, okay, yeah, like crippling blow for this army, really impactful, and they scored a bunch of points. Kind of helps people have an ongoing context of what's going on in the game, even if they're not super focused on it visually. Um, so we do that, and then a lot of stuff also is like we'll need to do VO if there's like a player interaction or something that like we didn't really get like a high quality coverage of, because maybe that's like you know and this is learning that I've had with kind of the changes as well, of like, let's say we didn't do declare our battle tactic well, we just went like, can we do magic dom, isn't like an very cleanly informative way to explain things for the sake of the battle report. So sometimes we'll go back and do that with VO to like make it a little more clear of what's being done and what the effect is or whatnot. So sometimes if we're in combat, we'll summarize things because there's just like either things are like not super relevant, or we can summarize a couple things, or again, maybe like one of the players didn't like declare, they're like, okay, I'm gonna attack next with these guys. Well, unless you're like, it's very hard to know who these guys are, even if you are watching, if you can't see like directly what they're pointed to or thinking. Like, so sometimes we'll have to do VO and write script lines for stuff. We'll be like, Castle pop in and be like, okay, the Abraxia is gonna go and kill uh half an army in this next combat phase. Obviously not real, but it's an example of, we'll again try to be clearer if it's not clear from the players, we'll go in sometimes with the script and voiceover to make sure we're as informative as possible. What else do we got? Charts buffed or nerfed? Um, I need to pull that up. I didn't really. Then I looked at it. Do I remember it? No. I looked at the shark profile. +1 hit for the Italian Beastmasters raiding party. Super cool. +1 hit on mounts. Nice for things like sharks. Sharks, yeah, especially as has been the trend. Mounts hit on 4s, wound on 2s. So hitting on 3s, better than that. Now, is that one hit rolls? I assume. Too much to hope that is +1 to characteristic. Alien Alapex. Now 2 shots at friend 1 3 damage, anti monster or anti cavalry. That's what a slight, probably a very minor decrease in output. Less attacks, they're more damage, better to wound, but I think it probably is slightly less on average. Melee weapons, the sharks had the riders had 6 attacks before, so that obviously is a change. Just kind of understandable. 2 attacks each rider makes sense. Wounding on 4s again for elves hurts. That's be something that's tough to get used to, but a lot of profiles have changed in the same manner. Ferocious bites, 4s, 2s. It's hard to say. Like, it's maybe a slight decrease in it's like the shark's output in some capacity, um, which it's like it's all about like okay, it's a slight decrease for the shark, but in the context of everything else, did it decrease more or less than everything else? So it's like, I mean, looks solid. It's not a huge no like crippling changes or anything. Bloodthirsty predators is the extra attack is very normal. Um, I know the shooting is a bit of a buff, um, because now they kind of always get to what is it? Well, make the charge harder, right? It no longer stops pile in, but it doesn't matter. The weapon you choose now affects just whether it's monsters or cavalry, which is like kind of a cool thing, makes it more impactful than just like everyone taking harpoons and spamming them, or earlier in the edition seeing like one net launcher. Yeah, I think it's cool. That's more relevant, and you flavor the taste of whether you're expecting to face monsters or cavalry, or if you're taking lots of sharks, you eat some of each. That's solid. And the ensnare doesn't matter which weapon you have. Um, yeah. Um, is it buff? I don't know. Time will tell. It's like gonna depend on points. If they went up in points at a higher like rate than other things, all comparative. Hard to say. But the profile looks maybe minor a decrease in damage, but more tech with the ensnared ability. It's good to me. Um, Legion of the First Prince was cool. I agree. Do I have a core of people that you film battle reports with? Yes. Like Ryan and Ridge are the 2 people I play with the most, and then kind of usually like have a ton of amazing people in the community around here that I get games in with. Um, you know, Mike and Mark are both in the chat. Um, JF's in the chat. Tristan's been on the channel before, so we've had lots of people on, and generally it's like, whoever I talk to, or sometimes people reach out and grab games, and that's awesome. So kind of Ridge and Ryan are the core staples, and then other than that, it's like a good variety of awesome friends from the community. Just to Blade a third. Yeah, the Dark Oath stuff coming out at the end of the edition was weird, and the other slave stuff, but hey, whatever. It's kind of like awkward from a rules perspective and like excitement perspective, but hopefully they're just super solid in fourth edition. I like seeing the variety of painting levels represented on the channel. It sends a good message about how perfect shouldn't be the enemy of getting stuff painted. 100% agree, assistant ref, and like I have no real standards of like what armies need to be, but like for myself, the armies I paint, there's just some that like just aren't like, it's not about like the level, it's just they're not done. Like you look at our Daughters of Cain army, and it's like it's been airbrushed, and that's about it. So I'd love to like kind of put more work into that stuff. All right, I think I've caught up to where I answered a bunch of, or was covering a bunch of the questions. Let's skip ahead in a moment. Alfarius, thanks for joining the membership. Just seeing that. When are you ever going to do Season of War merch again, or any updates? Well, not. It's something that I would like to do more. And again, with the help of, I'm going to keep bringing this up, with the help of Ryan on the editing side, frees me up a little bit more to be able to do stuff like that. So that's definitely an area I want to focus on. One exciting thing on the merch front is I did finally this week put up the new sets of Season of War dice on the website. On the seasonofwar.com. They're in the web store. If you're interested, you can go pick up some of the new Season of War dice. We got 2 different colored types of sets. You would probably have seen me use them. There's like kind of like the wood elven themed set. It's not elven themed, but it's like supposed to look like wood. They're green. So I guess they're good guy themed. And then there's a black and red bad guy themed set. So I love them. Baron and Dice did an amazing job. So hopefully you guys like them too. And if you're interested, you can go grab them. That's a little bit of a merch update. Countercharge will be wild, 100%. Oh, countercharge on 3d6 is going to be incredible. I'm like, he's up in this cabinet right there. If we had X-ray vision, you could see him right where my finger is. Ragnos is in there, and I want to bring out my like Iron Jaws countercharging builds again with Kragnos and friends, because that'd be a lot of fun. Hopefully, like, Maw Crusher still can issue CP to 3 units. That would be insane. 2, you still gotta spend 2, but then you countercharge 3 different units, and if you have Kragnos in there too, they're at 3d6. It'd be spicy. Elves are nerds. You're not wrong, Zach. Priority mechanic was the hardest thing to explain to new players. I mean, yeah, hardest thing to teach, because there's depth to it that like have to have experience to understand. Season of War GT2 when? You heard it here first. October 2024, which is the current year. We're to do planning Season of War GT episode 2. That's about that. So we're waiting to confirm things. If you are of the local community or interested to travel in, waiting to finalize some details, but we want to work with our buddies over at Torchlight in Burlington. They have an amazing store. They've always had an amazing store. They've recently been they're in the middle of moving into a new store, so we're just kind of waiting for things to settle for them. But they're to have an amazing gaming space, and we're tentatively going to run Season 4 GT there later this year. So keep an eye out for that. More information to follow, probably in the next month. So Season War GT2 is incoming. It's exciting. So someone who loves to paint different minis, Spearhead is going to be a ton of fun, affordable way to paint and play. 100%. That's the coolest thing about it. When I got into AOS, I only wanted to play it like skirmishy, and if Spearhead was out at the time, I might have played only Spearhead or just mainly Spearhead for a long, long time before getting into second ed. But there wasn't really skirmishy good AOS rules at the time, so that didn't happen. But that's the level I wanted to play the game at, and like be able to bounce around and do small scale kind of armies and whatnot. Spirit is going to make me do at least one stupid conversion project that will ruin me financially. Well, as long as you're only ruined financially once, hopefully you can bounce back. But that's again, similarly, fun thing about Spearhead, you get to just dabble with so many different styles and armies and paint different things, which is awesome. Not saying I'm attacking with these guys at least once is near impossible. 100% Zach. And especially like if you don't, Zach's been on the channel for years and years. But like obviously, been playing a lot of 40k lately. So it has been less involved, but coming back to AOS, which is super exciting. So we're happy about that. But like even someone like Ridge, who's on very regularly, or Ryan, I constantly like I'm like, hey, can you say that again for the camera? I say that all the time, um, to get better takes of things, or like, hey, this was super interesting. Can you just repeat yourself? Because we all and like even I do it too, and I do this film 2 games a week, right? So it's very natural. That's not normally you're not. We talk clearly for our opponents, but they have an understanding of what's going on because they're involved in the game, so you don't have to overemphasize the clarity that we want in battle report. Brett Jeff asks, "Old world ever?" Um, Maybe. No current plans. I know Ryan would absolutely love more old world stuff. He is super excited for it. It's not the game for me, I don't think, and yeah, it's not the game for me. So would I love to be able to incorporate it into the channel even if I wasn't playing the games myself? 100%. And that goes for 40k, and 40k getting 40k content going would probably be a bigger priority for me than old world. But again, to really we dabbled a bit with 40k, but to really be able to dive in the way that we want to, where it's financially viable to invest the time into it that it would take, it needs to be financially viable. So that channel's not quite not at a point where it is viable for us to really dive into another game system, but hopefully one day, fingers crossed. And guys, that is all the questions now caught up with in chat. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. We're also an hour and a half in, which is longer than I expected to talk, so I hope there was some entertainment gained from the stream tonight. Always want it to be valuable to you guys or informative in some capacity. So thanks for sticking around and hanging out and chatting. Um, um, just last question from Brett Jeff or follow up. Have I played a few games? Didn't appeal at first, but skill expression and list building tech is incredible. I to be fair, only played 2 games when the Bretonian and Tomb King stuff came out, but the investment level needed to get into it is not something I can currently um, facilitate, spend, invest in, because the rules are insanely deep. and a ton of information there. And to like, unless we are getting into it in a significant capacity, it's just way too much information to learn and get into and figure out a game, which is just again, it's too deep to be able to play that game casually and like have it on the channel once a month. Just unless I was bringing in friends who knew it really well, which is a possibility down the road, hopefully. Not currently super viable, but something I'd love to be able to do in the future. But just yeah, it's too much to take on. Um, all the information involved in getting armies painted and all that stuff, like so much extra work. So again, would love to do it. Hopefully in the future we can do that. If the with future growth, hopefully, but just reality not quite there right now. Guys, again, thank you for the kind words. Thank you for joining tonight, and hope you enjoyed the stream and had some fun and are as excited as I am about the things coming in the new edition, the content that will be prepping and pumping out over the next couple weeks with the streams, and then when we do get the launch of the new edition, um, whenever that happens, to be fair, I don't have solid information, but obviously, looking at the history and when GW typically releases these kind of things, I'm sure it'll be this month or so, next couple months. So, fingers crossed. Look forward to bringing you guys all that sweet content. Again, thanks so much, especially to our channel members for their support of the channel. Again, you guys make it all possible, and I'm eternally grateful. And as well, goes for everyone. All the views, shares, likes, comments mean a ton to us and help out a ton. So thank you guys, as always, for the support. That's it for tonight. I'll see you tomorrow morning and evening for a couple more streams, and I look forward to those. Hope you can join in. That's about it. See you soon in another video. Have a good night. Bye.